We respectfully acknowledge the territory in which Memorial St John's Campus is situated as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, and the island of Newfoundland as the ancestral homelands of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk. We would also like to recognise the Inuit of Nunatsiavut and Nunatuhavut and the Innu of Nitassinan and their ancestors as the original people of Labrador. We strive for respectful relationships with all of the peoples of this province as we search for collective healing and true reconciliation and honour this beautiful land together. Please also recognise the peoples and their ancestors whose ancestral homelands are those on which your own institutions are situated.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. Hi, Sara. Nice to see you.
Hi, Elizabeth. It's great to see you too. And hello from Newbury, Berkshire, across the pond. I'm so glad that we could do this, even in these strange COVID times we're living in. It's nice to see your smiling face, and I see you're also wearing some memorial swag.
Yeah, I have my Harlow Campus sweater on, and I see that you've got your memorial sweater on as well. We're both representing today. Looks good. And hello to everyone tuning in on Facebook and YouTube today. Thank you so much for joining us. We have over 230 viewers watching from all over.
Wow, that's exciting. Just before we get started, we're hoping that things run smoothly today, but as everyone knows this year, sometimes the tech can be a little funny and happy little accidents can occur. So if that does happen to, come to pass, bear with us. We'll make sure we fix it all as smoothly as possible. For those of you who don't know, my name is Sara Inkpen, and I'm a Memorial grad. I graduated in 2007 with a Bachelor's of Arts in English and with a focus in theater and drama. I followed that up in 2012 with a diploma in performance and communications.
And I'm Elizabeth Furey. I'm also a Harlow alum. I graduated in 2008 with a BA in English and Religious Studies. Sara and I actually met at the Harlow campus 15 years ago while doing the Landscape and Literature program in the fall of 2005 with Drs. Mike and Annette Stavely. We're so pleased to be a part of this event today, which brings together so many members of our memorial community and friends. Travel isn't an option right now, so this is a wonderful way to cross the Atlantic and revisit a place that we hold so near and dear to our hearts.
Absolutely. We wish we could be there, but welcome to this virtual tour. We're going to take you on a little trip down memory lane. And take you on a tour of one of Memorial's hidden gems, very, very close to our hearts, Memorial's Harlow Campus. Whether you are a Memorial alumnus yourself, and I think there's a few of you here, I hope, or a Memorial wannabe, we hope you will enjoy it as much as we're going to.
We also hope you'll be inspired to throw your own memories and comments out there as we chat. And you can do that by commenting on the YouTube or the Facebook, whichever platform you're watching on. If you have a question, please post it in the comments and we'll do our best to read it out and respond. Sara, I would have to say that my experience at Harlow was truly one of the best times of my life. And of course, one of my favorite things was meeting you and the friendship we've developed over the past 15 years.
Well, I totally agree with that. That's, very special. But I can remember one of the first times we hung out together was going to London on the train. Went that weekend, which is fairly easily done from Harlow, to be honest, because it's only 45 minutes from London by train. And of course, we went back and watched BBC's Pride and Prejudice, which is one of my favorite miniseries.
Yes, we loved that miniseries. We had so many good times. Do you remember who the first person we met was when we arrived on campus? There's no one who's more involved with the Harlow experience than Sandra Wright, the general manager of the Harlow campus, who joins us now live from the Harlow campus. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, guys. How are you?
So
Good.
It's great to see your faces.
Sandra, you've been the general manager for 17 years now, is that right?
Gosh, yes, 17.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how the connection between Memorial and Harlow came to be?
Yeah, so hi, everybody. Some of you may be thinking, why a Canadian campus in Harlow? It first started the rich and interesting history that began in 1967 with Lord Stephen Taylor of Harlow. He was instrumental in the creation of the health centres in Harlow and also a member of the Harlow Development Corporation. Being invited to become the 5th President and Vice-Chancellor of the University, upon accepting the position, Lord Taylor said, "I think it would be fitting for the oldest town in the New World, St John's, were linked to the newest town in the Old World, meaning Harlow." And from there, the wheels were set in motion for a memorial campus in Harlow. Harlow Campus Trust was formed in 1968 to set Lord Taylor's vision into reality. As a result of discussions, the university acquired a dilapidated Victorian maltings, previously used for storing and processing grain to malt for brewing beer, and a disused Victorian school building, St John's House. Work commenced on the refurbishment of both buildings to accommodate 33 students and professors with their families. Harlow Campus first opened its doors on the 20th of August 1969, housing professors from Memorial University and students from the local Harlow College. The first Memorial University students to use Harlow Campus were from the School of Social Work. That was in the fall of 1970, and they stayed for a period of 3 months. The campus then continued to house students completing internships from the Faculty of Engineering, Pharmacy, Cooperative Commerce. It was then in 1972 that the Faculty of Education took over its first group of students, where they completed their internship in local schools over 1 semester, which they still continue to do so to this day. Education provided the mainstay of the campus until the late 80s. The campus has been since used to deliver courses in arts, science, visual arts, theatre, business, as well as providing a base for all those completing research. Over the years, the campus has expanded. In 1973, the university purchased a former butcher shop and flat in Market Street and converted them into 2 apartments, providing plenty of space for their faculty and family. In 1988, the maltings was then extended to provide increased office space, whilst allowing space for a library and a computer suite. In 1997, the university purchased Cabot House, which provided accommodations for an additional 10 students. In May 2002, the campus closed for 4 months for major refurbishment. The campus, as it now stands today, can accommodate 51 students, up to 3 faculty and their families at any one time. In any normal year, we will see cohorts of students and faculty come to Harlow Campus to live, study, travel and work, giving them the ability to gain experience in corners of the world beyond their own, truly their gateway to Europe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sandra. That's great information about the history of the campus that maybe some people don't know. We're really thankful for Lord Taylor's work.
Absolutely. So, so grateful for that. And someone else we're also really thankful for is Chef Nick. Nick Slate has been the chef at Harlow for nearly 20 years now. And Elizabeth and I had the chance to speak with him recently. So here is a glimpse into the mind of a seasoned campus chef. Oh, it's coming along. Oh, I think we're having one of those technical difficulties I talked about earlier. Oh no. Uh-oh.
Sarah, do you remember one of the first meals we had in Harlow? Nick prepared, I remember, I love that you don't remember this, but I do. One of the first things we had was curry. And I think that was actually my first introduction to curry, because it was popular at the time over in Newfoundland for me. I'd never had it before, but I remember the first time I really had curry was when Nick made it.
Definitely. I don't remember that, but it's a good one.
He was very creative in the kitchen.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I remember one of the first times, and this is you know what? You know
Mm.
what? I also remember paper bag lunches.
Oh,
Does
yes.
anyone out there in the comments remember those paper bag lunches that we had? And penguin bars. Love the
Yes.
penguin bars.
We always had a bag of Walker's crisps in the lunch and a penguin bar.
Yeah.
And I
So
remember that some of the sandwiches, I mean, I will admit, I wasn't very adventurous when it came to sandwiches. I guess having food allergies will do that. But I remember there was a prawn cocktail sandwich one time that I did not touch.
no, I probably wouldn't have eaten that either. I don't particularly remember it, but yeah.
I definitely remember the prawn cocktail sandwich because I didn't eat it. I had chips
Instead,
and a penguin bar for lunch that day.
oh,
That was one of the great things, though, is that because we went on so many field trips in our program, we would always have to have a packed brown bag lunch with us because we would never make it back in time for lunch to make our own lunches. But
No.
that was one of my favorite memories, was always getting a penguin bar
Yeah.
in the brown bag lunch.
You know something? I still eat those penguin bars from time to time. True story.
Do you really?
I really do. Every now and then, because obviously I live in the UK now. For everyone who may not know that, and every now and then, sort of as a little bit of nostalgia, I'll run to the Sainsbury's and get myself a pack of penguin bars. They're so cheap and cheerful, like they cost so little. But it's one of those things. It's really tied to your memory,
It totally is. Food
yeah.
is so tied to memories.
Yeah.
We actually just had a comment from Jamie Skidmore. Jamie is a faculty member in the English department at Memorial who has taken numerous groups to Harlow. And Jamie said one of his favorite things is Scotch eggs. Have you ever had a Scotch egg?
I have had a Scotch egg. Scotch eggs are delicious and kind of nutritious, I guess. I enjoy Scotch egg. What?
Where did you have it?
Oh, you can get them in the pubs around, and I've had different ones for sure. Depending on. I'm just trying to think of some other foods. Oh yes, first time I ever had a cucumber sandwich.
Yeah.
Was in Harlow. That's very traditional English fare.
Very traditional. Yes. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
And I
What
think
do
we
you enjoy most about
Dr. Timmons. Dr. Timmons joined the broadcast, and she hopes to visit Harlow Campus in 2021.
I hope she
So
gets to
instead
go.
of the interview with Nick, we're going to skip to the tour.
We had to turn it off and on back here. Sorry, folks.
Sorry, folks. We're having a few technical difficulties. It's 2020. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. We're here.
So
we're enjoying ourselves.
what do you enjoy most about working in the kitchen?
Well, I think primarily it's that interaction with people. I think it's the buzz that anybody gets in any. We were talking about the mental health issues. They're clearly, we are social animals, and we need that interaction, whether it be with our own work colleagues or whether it be with the customers that we serve. And I'm under no illusion. This is a service industry, and we are put on this earth to serve people in this respect. So that's very much one of the buzzes. Then you have the diverse cultures that we come from and that the students come from, and that adds another dimension to it. So it's very much part of the process. Also,
Totally.
over that period of time, we've seen an evolution of the student from what they were like in those early days to what the modern day student is, because I think as much as it happens to the experience that they gain here, they've also had an evolving experience back home, I think, where the society within Newfoundland has developed and advanced and so on. And that's sometimes reflected in the way that we present food as well, because that whole food offering has changed over the years as well.
No doubt.
Yeah. I would say, when I was young, my parents would have brought me up, we were a meat and two veg society. That isn't, well, it still exists to a degree in our diet, but not so much today, where a lot of ethnic food and things like that becomes part of our day-to-day food offering really in this country. So, yeah, it's very much a changing landscape, but it's been the interaction with people as much as anything.
Well, actually, that's a good segue to what I was thinking about asking, what we'd like to know more about. I've been told that you like to share some tips and advice to students because you've been around for a while and you know the lay of the land. Do you have any particular tips for students or things like that that are coming? What advice would you give?
I think there was a point where my office got called a travel agency because I think one of the things you've both spoken about how much a positive influence the Harlow experience was on you, and I would be disappointed if students went away from here not having maximised those opportunities in the first place. Now, I accept, as we all do, is that money is not an endless pot, and therefore people have to have but the opportunity has grown and grown and grown because of the accessibility of airports and things like that around here. And I know from my own experiences, as my life has changed, I've more and more gone on weekends away or sort of little mini trips to whatever. And from my own personal perspective, we love, my partner and I, both been brought up in this industry. We love experiencing different food cultures, and different ways of life, basically. And therefore, if you're going to make the effort to get from where you guys come from to where we are here, just make a little bit more of an effort and spread your wings a little bit further.
Make a seat, Jared. He was so great to chat with.
Yeah.
Just before we continue, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Timmons. Hi, Dr. Timmons. So nice of you to join us today. And I know Dr. Timmons is really looking forward to visiting Harlow Campus in 2021, as am I, at some point.
Yes, I
Sara.
definitely want to get back there as soon as I can.
I know we've decided that we're going to start planning a joint trip as well already. So we're looking forward to that as well. Now, before we start the tour, we're going to have a quick visit with Dawn Bird, the admin assistant at Harlow. She is one of the first people students encounter when they arrive at Harlow and the last person they see when they're leaving. So she offers a unique perspective on the life-changing experience Harlow Campus provides to students.
We're talking a little bit about your role today, Dawn, and also a couple of other things. So could you tell us just a little bit more about what you do actually and what you love the most about it?
I've been at the campus now for about 2010, so about 10 and a half years. Got to see a lot of students come and go. The part that I really love about my job is it's just so diverse. It's different every day. You get when you're preparing for the students to come, I'm in contact with the professors who often come with their families, and I've got to know so many of them over the years. And then best part is when the students arrive, the coach arrives at the end of the path, all these cases, 500 cases and luggage come off, and then there's very tired students walk up the path, very shy. And then, when they arrive, obviously they're really tired, quiet. But during their time here, you just see their confidence grow and get to know them and their families. You feel like you know them because you have such lovely conversations with them. During the stay at the campus, the whole team tried to make it a home from home, which I think from the feedback that we get from them, they really do get that. So
I remember that feeling myself. I'm sure Elizabeth does too. I can so remember that, even though it was 15 years ago for us, that feeling of, arriving and like, oh, you are exhausted. Absolutely. But it's exciting at the same time. And it's so nice. So it's great to hear you say that. And I'm sure that you've connected with lots of students, as you say, and their families. And that sounds really lovely.
And last year, a great part of my role was we had the 50th anniversary of the campus. I think, Sara, you came.
I was there, indeed. It was a great time.
Planning for that, we had the barbecue and we went to see Come From Away. And I got to speak to many alumni and hear their experiences, which was great as well. Really good.
Definitely.
That's so nice. And just building on what you were both saying about when students first come to the campus, to be met after such a long journey and all this buildup of, preparing to come to the Harlow campus for your program, to be met with such friendly people and welcoming people. I remember that feeling as well. I remember feeling very welcomed and feeling very at home very quickly. So it's such an important part of a student's Harlow experience is feeling welcomed from, everyone already there. So yeah, that's awesome.
I think because it's such a small team that we all work close together. It's like a family, really, that we all work together. So I think that's the way it comes across when the students arrive. Yeah,
Absolutely.
they feel that.
Yeah.
Yep, that's so wonderful. So obviously things are a little quiet around campus these days, but with fingers crossed that'll change the next few months. There's hope that maybe in the spring.
I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully in the spring. If not the spring, then definitely next September. You'll see some new faces around campus. But what do you think you're most looking forward to when new students arrive again?
It's just the interaction with the students, just seeing their confidence grow, hearing about their travels, that they go to Europe, and seeing, their pictures. They're always sending me pictures of lots of places where I've never been, and just to see where they're going. They tell me about their families and their lives at home as well, which is so interesting. I've never been there myself, would love to go one day, but yeah, it's great to hear. And also we can now keep in contact with them because we've got Twitter and Instagram accounts. So we're on the social media side. So all the old students, they always keep us up to date on them. And I still get emails from students and their parents that I've got to know as well, just updating me on their life after Harlow. So yeah, it's just the interaction with the students. Yeah, I just can't wait.
Yeah. And, I think if you ever do get the chance to come over to Newfoundland, I'm sure you will have dozens and dozens of people offering to be your tour guide when you get over here.
That would be good.
Oh, isn't she just the sweetest? She was so nice in that chat. She's great. But without further ado, we're going to start our little tour. I think we're starting just outside the Maltings.
Mm-hmm. The Maltings, for those of you who don't know, is the main building on Harlow campus with offices, the dining hall, and the main residence. It's also where the common room and the library are on campus.
Of course, look at the ode is up there. I like that. Nice pan up to the ode to Newfoundland.
Mm. And this is the reception area where Dawn was just in her video. And as we make our way downstairs, we are going to pass by the information board. So the information board is where we would pick up our mail that our families had sent us, take a look at our class schedule and our field trip schedule, and of course, the dinner menu, which was very important to know because we always had what was for dinner.
Very, very important to know, because usually dinner was provided Monday to Friday, but we were on our own for breakfast and other meals and weekends. So the dinner menu was very important. And we had dinner in the portals, which is where we are now. Does anyone remember any favorite meals? We were talking a little bit about that earlier, but if you have any favorite meals, what about you, Elizabeth? I think you had a favorite.
I absolutely loved the potato salad that Nick used to make, Chef Nick made. I don't know what he did with that potato salad, but I always had to have it. It was so good, and I still remember it 15 years later.
I know. The first time I ever had paella, actually, was in Chef Nick's kitchen. And that was an interesting piece of a culinary thing. We're leaving the portals now, though, and headed toward the rooms. Now, I was in there's room 1. I was in room 3. Elizabeth, you were across the hall in 5. Is that right?
Yes, I was across the hall in 5 with my roommate's name was Jill Butler. And I think my room was a bit larger than yours.
Definitely. Yeah, I had a tiny room. Here we are at room 3. is so small, but you know something, myself and my roommate Kayla, if you're here, shout us out. We had this small, tiny space, but it was so nice, and we were so respectful of each other's space. Of course, you had to be in a space that small. Honestly, it was a very small space with that very tiny desk there. I remember writing many an assignment in that little corner,
Yes.
and very cozy. And here we are. These beds, if you're wondering how the beds fit in the room, here it is. I believe this was Kayla's bed, if I'm remembering this rightly. But they're Murphy beds. They come out of the wall, so you can have them down or you can put them up. It's kind of convenient, actually. It was a great little space, and so many fond memories in that space.
Nice and
Include
cozy.
Nice and cozy. I really like it. I mean, you know, you spent time there, but we spent so much time out and about in the world anyway, that it was, you know, just a place to be safe and cozy and come back and rest at the end of the day, really, too.
Yeah. And you and Kayla are
So
still friends now, right? She was a great roommate.
totally, she was a fantastic roommate. I couldn't have asked for a better roommate, to be honest. And oh, here we go. We're headed into room 5. This is your domain.
This was my room. I loved this room so much. That over there, that was Jill Butler's bed. My bed was back behind us. But that desk space, I spent a lot of time at that desk writing papers and studying, and also spending a lot of time on the phone talking to family and friends back home. Because in 2005, Skype was just beginning to be a thing, I think. It was still pretty new.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're headed to the kitchen now, up the stairs. Or, oh, no, before we head to the kitchen, funny little stop by our laundry room.
Yeah, and the laundry room, I think, actually looks pretty much the same as when we were there 15 years ago. But
Yeah.
I wonder if it looks the same to people from our mother's generation, because both of our mothers went to Harlow, right, Sarah? Mine went in the 70s.
And mine went in the 80s, and that's actually part of the reason both of us ended up going, because our mothers spoke so highly of the experience.
Yes,
So,
we heard many fond stories of their time at Harlow, and that's sort of what piqued our interest in attending a program as well.
definitely, for sure. So here we are on the way upstairs, to the kitchen.
So this kitchen on the first floor was shared by the main floor, which is where we were, the main floor residents and the first floor residents. And it's where we had meals, we made some meals, some snacks, and stored our takeaway meals, groceries in those cupboards right there. I remember I had heard that you couldn't get Cheese Whiz over in England. So I brought a jar of Cheese Whiz with me from home and kept it in that cubby. But I will admit, I don't remember making very many meals in the kitchen, but I remember buying a lot of pre-made stuff from Tesco.
Yeah, and I was a frequent visitor to the Chinese takeaway, particularly. Those meals could last you for days. And also, you know, all of those chips from the Tasty Fish, they were delicious.
The chips from the Tasty Fish that they would wrap in brown paper to take away, which I thought was so classically British. I loved that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're here in the hallway on the way along. I think if there's anyone who stayed in these rooms, by the way, shout it out in the comments and let us know.
Room, I'm trying to remember, my friend Christine Orr, I think, is tuning in, and she was in either room 11 or 12. I can't remember, but I think it was
Can't
11.
remember quietly. Yeah, yeah. We're headed to the common room, I believe, is next on the tour up these stairs. That would be right.
Do you remember we had some great parties in that room?
We really, really did. The Halloween party. Do you remember that and
Oh, yeah.
how we dressed up?
Yes. Yes, I remember. The Halloween party.
Myself and Kayla went as God and the devil. For those of you wondering, I was the devil.
Anybody watching, did you have any great parties in that common room as well? Going back to your costume was much better than mine. I'm not a big Halloween person. I dressed up in pink pajamas and called myself a stick of gum. So I was not very creative. Just as a side note, that shot of the ceiling there, the Maltings, the building gets its name from the fact that this building used to be a Maltings, and that hole in the ceiling is where the grain would be poured in.
Oh, here we have a little bit of piano stylings by our videographer.
This group was pretty musical, hey? We had a few
Yeah.
people that played guitar, a few people that played piano. So we had a creative musical group.
Yeah, I mean, you also sang some bits,
Yes, yeah.
and Emily and Katie were singers and players and things like that. We are moving on now to the resources room, which I will totally admit that I didn't spend much time in at all.
You know, yeah. It was a great library. It has lots of great resources. I do remember coming up and doing some studying up there and writing some papers. If it was a great place if you wanted to get away from your room and your roommate and just have some quiet time to study and read and write. And so I do remember using it a few times.
Yeah.
Maybe not as many as I should have.
No, probably
It was a
not.
great
No.
space. To be fair, we were pretty busy. It was a pretty busy tour, a pretty busy program.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did so much learning outside of kind of traditional like classrooms and learning spaces, and that's really one of the benefits, to be honest, of the whole thing, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of classroom time, but also lots of field trips, which were great.
Yeah, and actually, we're headed back down to the main floor there, and I believe we're actually headed to the Harlow Hall of Fame, the Wall of Fame.
Yeah.
There's some shots here. Look at these.
Anybody see any familiar faces? Maybe you are in one of those photos as having
Yes.
participated in a Harlow program. I don't see our photo up there, Sarah, but I mean, there have been numerous groups that have gone since 2005. I keep having to remind myself that it's been 15 years, but I can't believe it because I have so many vivid memories from that time.
I know. I mean, like it seems like yesterday in a way. Like the vivid memories just it comes flooding back so quickly, and I'm sure that actually anyone who's gone before will probably feel the same. It's just so great.
Yeah.
See, you two can be on the Wall of Fame.
Oh, and that's a
Oh,
photo of
and
us
there's
from our time
us.
in Harlow.
Oh,
Almost
babies
15
we
years to
were.
the day. Yeah, very young. So now we're moving on to Cabot House. We didn't spend a whole lot of time here because we both lived in the Maltings, but there were a couple of our classmates that did live there. I love this building. It's so beautiful, so rustic. I mean, look at those beams. This building dates to 1650s, so we know that those beams are original and they look original.
They definitely look original. They're not very straight lines, to be fair. Did you know that Cabot House was actually originally called St. John's Cottage, but was renamed Cabot House in honor of the 500th anniversary of John Cabot arriving in Newfoundland, which, strangely enough, also coincided with the 50th anniversary of Harlow as a town. That's
cool.
actually something that I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
No. And when we were there, correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth, but it was mostly Faculty of Education people who were living here when we were there. It's a bit more like a house than the Maltings.
Yeah, it was Faculty of Education students that stayed there in Cabot House while we were there. And I think that was sort of the norm because they usually had smaller groups go. So they usually managed to fill all of their students into just Cabot House. And I think like I said before, we didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but two of our classmates, Stacy Delaney, now Hopkins, and Lily Robleski, they stayed here. And I remember the times that I did hang out here was when I went to midterm break. We went to we went to Italy together, and we spent time here planning our trip to Italy, which was really fun.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of trip planning that went on. People went a lot of places, going to Rome. I went to Edinburgh on my midterm break, which I loved.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. I think, and just going into this room, this is my favorite part of this space next because it's so cozy. I feel like here we are. Yeah, see, here's a nice cozy space to hang out with your friends.
Yeah. And I mean, they had lots of there's board games there that people could play. And like I said before, our group was a pretty musical group. So there's a guitar over there in the corner that I'm pretty sure got played an awful lot and still probably gets played to this day.
Yeah, no kidding. And just kind of hanging out, I'm sure, that happened in that space.
Yeah.
I think we're headed, here we are at the Maltings again, but I think actually we're headed to St. John's House next.
Yeah, so St. John's House was where our classes would take place. This is where our classroom was. Do you have a particular memory of a class in there? Anything that stands out?
I definitely do. One of the things that stands out to me the most was an assignment that I actually did on Shakespeare's As You Like It, because we studied that particular play. We went to see a production of it in Stratford up on Avon, and I reviewed it, wrote a review of the production, and performed a monologue in iambic pentameter.
Did.
I am such a theater nerd. I'm just gonna put that out there right now.
There's a reason you did an English degree.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I
Do you?
remember, yeah, and I
Yeah.
remember that same assignment. I did a paper on William Blake, and I had to learn, well, I didn't have to, I chose to learn the hymn Jerusalem, which he wrote. And then I performed it. I sang it in class, which was a little nerve-wracking because I don't think anyone at the time, I was kind of shy, and I don't think anyone in our class knew that I could sing. But that song, that hymn, is such a traditionally English song. I'm pretty sure that Jerusalem gets sung at football matches all the time over in England now.
Yeah, it definitely does. And here we are. I think the light is going to come on now. Let there be light. It's such a great space. It's like a one room schoolhouse kind of thing. And it was a cozy space to learn in. I really enjoyed doing classes there, to be honest. It was quite nice.
And we also watched a lot of BBC miniseries there, including our favorite, Elizabeth Gaskell's North and South.
I love North and South, but don't forget Alan Titchmarsh's British Isles of Natural History. Does anyone in our class, if you are watching, do you remember watching that? That was a really good one.
I remember that series. I loved that series. I loved North and South so much that I remember going, when I got back to Canada, I bought the BBC miniseries on DVD because I loved it so much. I had to have my own copy. It was so good.
I've actually watched it a number of times since. I'm not gonna lie. I really, really love it. So and you should watch it.
Yeah. So now I think we're on our way to the Crown, which was one of the pubs that we used to go to. But while we're there, while we're on our way, why don't we talk about some of the field trips, the learning that we did outside of the classroom? Anybody else watching? Anybody remember any memorable field trips or any trips that they took? I remember that, Sarah, our first trip was to Canterbury.
I loved Canterbury. It was our first trip, and probably one of my favorite, really. As a bit of a history nerd, particularly a medieval history nerd, I loved that. But one of the most vivid memories I have is of being there and coming to the gate of Canterbury Cathedral and realizing that there was a Starbucks attached to it, like literally attached to the gate. And I was like, this is an affront. It's scandalous.
Well, old and new.
Now that I live here and have lived here for a while, I understand the kind of juxtaposition of the old and the new, and it needs to live together,
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
I was looking at my Harlow diary recently, and I know that on September 21st, we went to Hatfield House, which is where Queen Elizabeth I lived growing up, and where she was when she found out that she was to be queen. And one of the other field trips that sticks out of my mind was going up north to Yorkshire and the Lake District. I loved that trip. I loved the Lake District. And I remember we went to Haworth in Yorkshire, where the Brontes live.
Absolutely. I do remember that. I remember that was being really hilly, actually, that region. I loved Yorkshire and the Lake District as well. And the views were just stunning. You realize why the poets wrote what they wrote when you see those landscapes. It's just absolutely stunning. But I think here we are arriving actually at the Crown.
And as you can see, there's some signs on the windows, Sunday roast. They would offer Sunday roast dinners every Sunday. And I remember going there and eating a Sunday roast dinner, and it was so good. Oh my gosh. It was so delicious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we spent a little bit of time at the pubs, just a bit.
Well, just a little bit. Some of our class more than others.
Yes, exactly. Going back to the field trips, I think one of the other most memorable field trips that we took was to Beaumont Hamel, and we went with Kevin Major. And I think Kevin is watching today. Hi, Kevin. Kevin was the writer in residence at the time, and he helped organize that trip. And I think as Newfoundlanders, it was such an emotional and profound experience for us to be there. And I'm so glad we went with him.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it was so good. And it was really profound. I mean, to stand in that environment and I believe you sang something. Did you sing something as well?
I did, yeah. I sang the Ode to Newfoundland. Yeah. While
Yeah,
we were standing underneath the caribou statue, which was very special. Very special.
definitely. Very
And I
special.
think the field trips, that's one of the things that's so special about Harlow and studying at Harlow Campus. And it's one of the big benefits of studying there is that there's so much learning outside of traditional classrooms. And I really think the field trips were really meaningful for me. That feeling of being immersed in what you were learning, I just loved it.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. No question. It is the best part of going to Harlow, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I think we're going to head now to the High Street.
Love the High Street.
Mhm.
Hello.
Anybody else remember the High Street? Any favorite shops?
I definitely had a favorite. I loved charity shop shopping,
Yes.
or a thrift shop for anyone who is not familiar with the charity shop idea. But you know something, I've actually grown to love charity shop shopping even more since. It's just so cool the things you can find in those shops.
Yeah. So the High Street actually looks a little bit different from when we were there. A few of the shops have changed, like the grocery store was Summerfield when we were there, but now it's a co-op store instead. But some of the classics like Cafe Blue right there and the Tasty Fish are still there.
Mm.
And I think my favorite place on the High Street is right there, Dorrington's, the bakery.
Love it.
I loved Dorrington's, and I always used to start my day with a cappuccino. As a treat, I would let myself have a chocolate eclair. Oh, there's a cappuccino. Perfect. I wish I could have it right now. But yeah, I remember their chocolate eclairs were so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Dorrington's had such tasty things. We have lots of good memories of that high street, and Old Harlow all around, actually. There's so much more that we could actually take a look at. But we hope that this tour has given you a little bit of a taste of what the area around the campus is like and the environment and that sort of thing. And you've enjoyed this little stroll down memory lane with us.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I loved that little glimpse back into Old Harlow and that little tour. I'm so glad we were able to revisit the campus, even if it was just virtually.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're doing what we need to do for now. But as soon as I can get back there, I'm gonna get back there. No lie.
Wonderful.
I think we deserve a cup of tea after that now.
Me too. Cheers.
Cheers.
You know, we're not the only ones with fond memories of Harlow, though, are we? There's a few alumni, Harlow alumni, both students and faculty members, who sent in some testimonials about their Harlow experience. First up is Angela Wilmot. She's currently a school counselor in Lewisport Collegiate and holds a BA in psychology, a BEd in education, and an MEd in educational psychology, all from Memorial.
Harlow was an absolutely unbelievable professional learning experience, unrestricted research experience, even got to work at Cambridge University and the University College of London, an inexpensive world travel experience for a poor grad student. I encourage all my students to consider such amazing opportunities for academic, professional, and personal growth. Angela Wilmot, school counselor, Lewisport Collegiate.
And next up, I believe we have Dr. Chris Sharp, who was a member of the geography department from 1975 to 2015 and taught the English Cultural Landscape program 11 times, which is a lot, over 19 years, working with over 247 students at Harlow.
I spent 40 years at MUN, perhaps half my life, and did a lot of different things. But my involvement in the English Cultural Landscape program was the most significant contribution I made to the university. It gave me the opportunity to teach real hands-on geography. My Harlow experience, repeated so many times, will always be one of the highlights of my life. Dr. Chris Sharp, Department of Geography, 1975 to 2015. Dr. Sharp taught in the English Cultural Landscape program 11 times and worked with over 247 students at Harlow.
That's so nice to hear from Dr. Sharp. He's made such a massive contribution to the Harlow campus. Before we continue on, though, we have a few comments from some of our viewers, which my colleague Heidi is going to read out.
Okay, we've had plenty of wonderful comments, a really engaged online audience here on YouTube. We had Allie L comment on the goosebumps that she got listening to the choir when she spent time at Canterbury. Comments about the education students watching Christmas movies in Cabot House. From Gerard Curtis, who wants to organize an alumni gathering there. There seems to be lots of interest about that.
So nice.
Yes, he says we all need to keep Harlow alumni united to protect Harlow as the jewel in the crown of Memorial University. Just a lovely comment.
Yeah.
And I've got one here from Bernie Doyle, who says he worked at the Marquis of Granby pulling pints for the Dart League, another form of education. Loads of comments about food. I think a lot of us are hungry. We've got baked apples with custard on pudding, roast beef with Yorkshire pudding, jam donuts, Bakewell
Yum.
tarts. It goes on and on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think food is such one of those things that really unites anybody everywhere and really brings up memories. Food is such a strong
Totally, and I think it's about the sense of smell too.
Yes.
You know, you remember, like when you smell something, it brings it back. One of the things we didn't talk about, but I will sneak in at this point, was on the way to the Crown. There's some lavender growing along that street,
Yes.
and when I would walk down there, I'd run my hands through the lavender, and it would flow through the air. And now every time I smell lavender, it reminds me of being in Harlow.
It's so funny you say that because I have the exact same memory of doing the exact same thing. And I
Yeah.
know a couple of other people from our program that talk about doing that as well. So those people that own the lavender on that side of the street.
I know. Thank you, whoever you are.
Exactly. So as I mentioned before, the program Sara and I participated in the fall 2005 was run by Drs. Mike and Annette Stavely. It was amazing. It was an English and geography program where we got to read classic British literature and then go on field trips to places associated with the novel or the author. We recently asked Annette what her thoughts were on the Harlow experience.
And here's what Annette had to say, lovely woman. Harlow is a unique overseas campus set in a traditional English village. It was the ideal setting for our courses in landscape and literature, which ran between 1997 and 2007. Traveling, studying, and living together was transformative in so many ways for professors and students alike, inspiring all of us to never stop learning or having adventures. The friendships and memories of generations of students and faculty last a lifetime. The recent Harlow reunion was a testament to the deep sense of loyalty to Memorial University and its vision in securing such a unique opportunity for learning. Students remember how their lives were changed by Harlow and continue to include us in their stories of how it influenced their choices and chances in life. For this, we are very grateful. Thanks to Annette for those lovely words, and it's no wonder she's one of the university's public orators. We also have a little quote, a little testimonial from Jamie Skidmore, who is another English professor who is a great fan of Harlow. Dr. Skidmore was instrumental in helping to organize last year's 50th anniversary of the Harlow campus. And Elizabeth, you were a key member of that committee as well.
Yes, that's how I know Jamie, actually. So Jamie says, in my 4 trips to Harlow, I've taken exactly 100 students, and I continue to have a close bond with many of them today. I've had the good fortune to teach with amazing faculty as well, including Dr. Don Nickel, Dr. Robert Chafe, and my partner, Dr. Andrea Proctor. Our daughter, Layla Proctor, even started kindergarten in Harlow at the Churchgate School. Teaching in the one-room schoolhouse on the Harlow campus has been heartwarming. I look forward to taking more students over in the future and giving them the experience of a lifetime. Many of my former students are still friends, and there's nothing better than to hear from them about their great successes in life. Jamie was so great to work with during the Harlow reunion last year. You know, some might think it's a strange time to be talking about studying abroad when we're being encouraged to stay close to home right now. But in a way, this is the perfect time to explore and appreciate this hidden gem of a campus so that when it's safe to do so, students know it's a place they can study abroad while staying within the Memorial family.
Definitely. And I strongly encourage anyone who's considering to really look into it further. There are lots of exciting plans, actually, for our Harlow campus in the future. And here to tell us a little bit more about that is Harlow's academic director, Bill Lawton, also Memorial alumni, actually.
I have a dual role at Harlow campus of Memorial University. So I've been on the board of directors for about 6 years now, and that It's the board that's chaired by the university president. And even before the pandemic happened, we've been meeting virtually for a few times a year for all of that time. And my second hat is as academic director at Harlow, and that's all about strategic planning and the vision for the campus in the coming years. And what I like best about it, I like being able to, I like going up to the campus, and I like meeting the students from Newfoundland, which I do occasionally get to do. And last year when we met each other at that alumni barbecue in 2019,
Yeah.
I just thought that was the most fantastic event that we had basically ever did in my time of being associated with the campus. And a lot of that was down to how brilliant Sandra Wright is and all of the organization, but other people too. And anyway, it's nice for me to get up there and visit, because I didn't realize that how interesting that town really is. And there's a lot going on there. And there's a lot to see, and there's a lot of beauty in the place too, anyway.
You've been familiar with the campus and the university for a long time, but in your role, I guess it gave you a bit more insight into the Harlow campus and I guess the rest of the university. But what do you think the vision is for the campus for the future, for the coming years? You know, how do you think you see it evolving and growing?
Okay, so I put a bit of thought into this because basically my position as academic director is intimately tied to that. So as you know, the campus has been operating for 50 years plus. It has to be one of the oldest branch campuses in the world. We at Memorial were doing this before pretty much anyone else. A lot of people don't know that. And throughout that whole period, that campus has been used mainly as a study abroad destination for Newfoundland students. Doing, courses from biochem to poli-sci, English, visual arts, theater, business, the whole thing, and also as a base for work placements, including school teachers. So that's been great. I mean, I think that's worked really well for decades, and that's what the board thinks too. And you guys both know what a life-changing opportunity Harlow is for Memorial students. But when the 50th anniversary came last year, the board of directors thought, okay, maybe we should look at new ways of using this campus while still keeping that core study abroad mission, which is always going to be the core of it. And so that's when the academic director position came into being. And so in that role, I tried to be a broker and a champion of MUN's interests here in the UK. So we want to develop the academic programs a bit more, some new formats and new subject areas. We're looking for a more diversified portfolio of activities overall, including having Harlow as a base for university industry links. And also, hopefully, a big prize would be international research collaboration. So, the pandemic came along in 2020 and there was some momentum going on. That was basically, we lost some momentum, it's on hold. But we have been working on a number of new collaborations. And if I can give you one or two examples.
Sure.
So a really important one is with Public Health England. Now, this is a very large government agency for research and communications, and it's moving almost all of its operations and thousands of staff to Harlow over the next couple of years. You may have heard of this in the last year or two. So this move, when it's completed, that's pretty much guaranteed to be a transformational boost to the local economy. And Harlow actually needs a bit of that. We at the campus and at Memorial, we want to be part of that in some way. So for example, in the first instance, we're working towards having internships at Public Health England for Masters of Public Health students in Newfoundland. And that's something that's relatively easy to do. They're on board for it. And that could be a first step towards some two-way mobility, hopefully, and sustainable research collaboration between Public Health England and the medical school at Memorial University. I mean, that would be fantastic. So that's one of the things. And just one other one that we're working on is using the campus as a base for Newfoundland companies. So Harlow is right in the middle of this high-tech corridor between London and Cambridge, the M11 corridor. And the idea is that Newfoundland startups would establish a legal base in the UK. That is very easy to do. You can do that online in 5 minutes. That's the easy bit.
Yeah.
The hard bit is finding new markets for their products and services. and we would have some role in that, helping with contacts and networks and stuff like that. So we've had discussions about that. There's a couple of startups at the Genesis Center in St. John's who said they are ready to engage. And I mean, this would raise the profile of MUN in the UK. It's a good news story for Harlow. It's a good news story for Newfoundland, but we have to get over the pandemic hump first, and we got to get, you know, there has to be physical mobility happening.
And thank you to Bill for that. That was really, really awesome to hear about all of that. And actually feels like there's a lot on the horizon for the Harlow campus, for sure. It's exciting for the future. And finally, Elizabeth, can you just say something quickly? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
Small little technical difficulty there. I'm
Yep.
just wondering if you could hear me. And finally, to finish and conclude, we're going to end the way that we began with Harlow's General Manager, Sandra Wright.
Sandra, how long have you been at the campus? You've been at the Harlow campus for a little while. How long have you been here, and what is your role at the campus?
I've been at the campus over 17 years now. I've seen over 2,500 students during that time. I've had not a change in role, but I joined as the campus manager when there was a director in place here. And then after a couple of years, changed to being the general manager. Part of my role is dealing with the day-to-day operations of the campus, the buildings and the staff. I also help to secure placements for students that are attending from the education faculty into local schools, but mostly really responsible for the welfare of each student, providing pastoral care to all those that visit. Always finds that that's probably the biggest part of the role, like really taking care of the students when they come. The most common phrase that I get that you must know is that it feels like the campus is a home away from home. This has really been achieved by all the staff and the faculty that have been here over the 51 years that we've been here now. Harlow really does give that opportunity for students to learn in a unique environment, mixed study with the ability to travel at weekends. Many European cities, I bet that you can name quite a few, many that you have been to whilst you were here. Harlow really, it's such a unique place. Everyone that's lived, studied or worked here have really, they find it's a special place in their hearts. It's a real special bond, and I especially see that when the students first come to when they end up leaving, how much they've matured, how much they've grown as a person. It's heartwarming to see that. It really is the sheer warmth that is felt by someone who shares the same memories. The love of this place, especially from the faculty as well that come over. We really do miss our students. We just can't wait for them to come back.
Yeah, I absolutely understand the feeling that you're talking about and how profound it is. And I know Elizabeth and I talk about it fondly all the time. I mean, it's an experience like no other. So actually, I'm kind of interested, what actually goes into planning and making it feel like a home and getting ready for students to come?
Well, I think there's a lot of planning and preparation that goes into creating a course, or even those that have been established for many years. It can take faculty up to around 18 months, 2 years in planning for one course. One thing that we've done quite recently in the last couple of years is that we've offered professors through the Vice President Academics Office a chance to come over to Harlow before they actually take their course. And the professors then get the lay of the land, get the feel of the campus, see the proximity really to London, to Cambridge, and all the local sites. It's immensely helpful for the planning. We give as much information and support as we can with the booking of the venues, advice on travel, anything that really that they need when they're here. There's a lot of administration support from the Harlow office that goes into that. But it's about the planning process. It's great to finally see it come into fruition. It's inspiring and rewarding when you see a course that's never been before to come in and see the sheer joy from the faculty when they've done, and the students, how much they gain from it. It's a real testament, that the home away from home, I think for the faculty especially, they do come back year after year, and again, it holds a special place in their heart as well, I think.
Thanks so much, Sandra. And thank you to Chef Nick, Dawn, Darren Smith, our videographer, who was so pivotal in bringing our viewers into Harlow. Thank you again as well to Harlow Campus and to the Office of Alumni Engagement for coordinating this virtual tour, and to Mr. John Duff for his technical expertise in running the show today. And most of all, thank you to everyone watching. We're so glad you were able to join us. Until we're able to safely travel again, this was a nice way to hop across the pond and have a change in scenery.
Absolutely. It's nice to take that stroll down memory lane. And before we say goodbye, we'd just like to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season as that's coming up. And thank you again so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.